Mistweavers have just right now, a couple of weeks ago, or actually I haven't done a video on this, got 2 charges of Renewing Mist. They got 2 charges of Renewing Mist. Of course, the 2 charges of Renewing Mist are like most of the charge abilities in World of Warcraft. The way that they work is that if you do spam your 2 charges constantly, only 1 charge is going to come back at one time. Only 1 charge is going to come back at one time. You have to keep that in mind. So if you keep spamming your Renewing Mist all of the time, you're not really going to get maximum use out of it. You're not really going to get maximum use out of it. So the changes that happen today is that you get 2 Renewing Mist and your Uplifting Trance, the proc buff, is no longer here. So what does that mean? So Uplifting Trance was something that your Renewing Mist has like a 4% chance to increase the healing of your next Vivify, and it was a proc chance. And basically what Blizzard said in their blue post, they said that we don't want to have that many proc abilities, and the fact is that Renewing Mist is already buffed by Vivify, because every time you go into Vivify a person, the people that are affected by your Renewing Mist are also going to be healed. So what is the point of having so much maybe there's too much synergy. So they removed the whole portion of Uplifting Trance. They added 2 charges of Renewing Mist, and as of right now they nerfed a lot of the Mistweaver abilities. So Renewing Mist and Soothing Mist and all the healing that they were doing is actually removed. It actually has been nerfed quite a bit. It actually has been nerfed quite a bit. So a lot of people are quite unhappy because, okay, Vivify was kind of strong, but they also nerfed Renewing Mist. They also nerfed Soothing Mist, which I don't know, which a lot of people are unhappy. Of course, no one likes to get nerfs. The fact is that it's not all great and amazing. You still have to consider that Soothing Mist has a 1-second global cooldown attached to it. So there is some talk about whether instant or whether Soothing Mist into Vivify is worth it. If you're actually considering to cast, you know, oh, I'm gonna get instant cast on Vivify if I cast it on Soothing Mist first, that might not be the best way to go, just because considering that Soothing Mist has a 1-second cooldown attached to it. The fact is, maybe you, on certain situations, you might be better off to just cast 2 Vivifies. There's a lot of discussion about this on Peak of Serenity. Peak of Serenity is a really cool source for all of this. They also covered about the different talent builds, or the different builds that are available. So there's been a lot of talk. About Mistweaver utility. A lot of people have been talking about Mistweavers. A lot of people have been talking about Mistweavers in raid scenarios. Whether they're going to be good, whether they're going to be taken, whether the utility is there, whether you see Mistweavers in high mythic plus, whether you see Mistweavers in world first kills and things like that. So the fact is that right now Mistweavers only have revival. That's a lot of people's arguments about this, and it's my argument to some extent as well. Mistweavers only have revival as something that separates them from everything else. They do have Cocoon, but Cocoon by default is really not that great of a cooldown. So it's not something that is like, wow, we're gonna bring a Mistweaver just because he or she have a Cocoon. That's definitely not the reason. The thing is that Mistweavers right now have, or at least there's quite a few different builds emerging. There's quite a few different builds emerging from Mistweavers, and one of the builds is to do with tank healing. So because of Soothing Mist, because of Enveloping Mist, because of Vivify, because of Renewing Mist, because of multiple different talent synergies that are happening for Mistweavers, you have this tank single target sustained burst healing potential happening, and on top of that you can also provide AoE healing, because usually in those tank situations you probably will take Upwelling, and Upwelling allows you to, you know, if you don't cast Essence Font on cooldown, it's gonna build up, and make your next Essence Font be stronger. So if you're healing tanks, if you're concentrating on tanks, you probably won't be casting Essence Font on cooldown. So you legitimately have this, like, you know, single target healing build with a potential for AoE. And then if you don't want to do that, you also have these fist weaving builds with Rising Mist. With Rising Mist, you have this fist weaving build where you go in the melee and things like that. So all of a sudden you have the potential, you know, there's a potential there for multiple different builds. So a lot of people might argue this. A lot of people will say that Mistweavers might have one of the best single target healing right now. That Mistweavers can provide the best single target healing depending on the talents that they choose as well. So there's an argument that, do Mistweavers provide enough utility in raids and 5-mans? I mean, you do have Essence, you do have Revival, and you do have all these like things like Ring of Peace and things like that might be strong in 5-man dungeons. But in raids, let's consider this. Does having a healer who's capable of swapping to a single target healing, swapping to AoE healing, or even providing both, so you're becoming like a jack of all trades kind of healer. You become a jack of all trades kind of healer. You can do everything to some extent. I'm not sure whether they can do a single thing to the best of their abilities, like the best out there. But let's say they become jack of all trades, and all of a sudden, before each boss happens, you'll be like, okay, this boss is tank heavy. Hey, Mr. Mistweaver, let's go that tank babysitting build, and go help out our healers, and go help out our tank healers. And you'll be like, okay, I'm a Mistweaver. I can legitimately swap. And I can help out, and I'm not constricted by just doing AoE healing. Does that provide additional utility to the whole Mistweavers? A lot of people might say that the top end guilds out there will just bring the healer that's best at single roles. They bring the best tank healer, they bring the best AoE healer, maybe they bring the best healer on the move if the fight involves a lot of movement. And they won't care whether a specific class can do everything pretty good. They'll just optimize to the very potential, optimize to the very maximum potential, focusing on whatever class is the best, because they have the rosters. They have the roster to do it. Now, we don't know whether, like right now, Mistweaver single target healing is looking really interesting. Right now, Mistweaver AoE potential is looking very interesting. The thing is about Mistweavers right now, definitely the 2 renewing mist change is pretty cool, because like I mentioned before, having 2 renewing mists, if you don't use renewing mist on cooldown, if you don't just spam renewing mist every single time, you will get more benefit out of it because of how charges work. To the same extent that Resto Shaman Echoes of the Element, when they give you two Riptide stacks, it works the same way. If you spam Riptide, if you spam it all the time, you won't get the same amount of benefit, and to the same extent that the renewing mist charges work as well. But the fact is, if you will have more renewing mists, your Vivifies will heal the people with renewing mist, and it makes your maybe, you know, group burst potential a bit stronger, just because, you know, renewing mist, smart, jumps to people that need healing, or at least jumps when the person doesn't need healing anymore. It also prevents, if you're about to override a renewing mist, the game tries to prevent that from happening. Quality of life improvements everywhere actually. I'm most excited about Mistweaver. I'm honestly most excited about Mistweaver. The different builds that Mistweavers have right now. It seems very interesting. I mean, what's going to be the best single target, or what's going to be the best 5-man healing talent build? I mean, I do like the Jade statue. Because if I cast Soothing Mist on the tank, my Jade statue will do the same thing. Will cast Soothing Mist on the tank. I can go and DPS the boss if I want. And my Soothing Mist is still being cast on the tank. Everything's being, like, you know, everyone's being taken care of right now. And if I opt in to go with Rising Mist, I can even do healing through my Rising Sun Kick as well. So you have all of these different builds that are legitimately quite interesting. You have these builds that involve going close to the boss, going close to the melee, being the melee healer. Then you have these builds that are not constricted, that don't constrict you to go to the melee. They don't require you. You can stay out in the range and do your healing from there. So it's really interesting, the variety of builds that are appearing for Mistweavers. And it's definitely one of the healers. I would definitely say the Mistweavers are one of the healers that received the most changes. Like, if we talk about the utility that Mistweavers do provide, and that's been a really big discussion, because we can basically talk about utility that's provided by healers purely because a lot of people, including myself, assume that the healing output of healers in BfA is going to be somewhat similar, or at least the balance is going to be somewhat similar to Legion, because Legion Legion healing balance is very, very tight. It's very, very tight. Every healer is so close in terms of the HPS potential. So a lot of people who do play BfA, they're assuming every healer is going to be, like, you know, the healing output is going to be similar. There won't be a healer that's going to provide way more healing than everyone else. So all of a sudden you're looking at the utility gains. You're looking at how much every healer can provide in terms of utility, how much every healer can provide in 5-mans, in raid utility, what kind of raid cooldowns you have, what kind of defensive cooldowns you provide, what kind of personal cooldowns you have. So everyone's looking at these kind of things, and all of these changes that happen to Mistweaver, they don't really add to the utility of Mistweaver, other than the fact that Mistweaver can all of a sudden perform multiple roles better than they could in Legion. But in terms of utility, it really isn't spells that are like, you didn't get an additional cooldown. Mistweavers don't have a new raid cooldown, unlike Holy Priest, who got a Symbol of Hope as a baseline, which provides mana to the healers, missing mana to the healers, and maybe Holy War Salvation if they do opt in to get it. So, like, Holy Priest got some kind of utility because they all of a sudden they can spec into certain raid cooldowns, and those raid cooldowns will be, you know, raid leader will organize those raid cooldowns and things like that. Mistweaver didn't really get any of this raid-wide utility. They didn't get any of this raid-wide utility, but they got this different niche roles all of a sudden. They have these different niche roles that are happening. Like, all of a sudden, maybe you will bring a Mistweaver to just tank heal. Maybe we'll bring a Mistweaver to just tank heal, who will also provide AoE healing. From the raid testing that I've seen, from the mythic raid dungeons and things like that, there seems to be like there's a lot of tank damage. There seems to be like there's a lot of tank damage happening. It seems like there might be more tank healing needed. So maybe Mistweaver will be brought in as an off healer, the tank babysitter kind of role. The tank babysitter role who'll focus on the main tank who's taking all of the damage. And when there's burst AoE damage happening, they will go in and they'll essence font. And they'll essence font with their upwelling. Overall, I think it's extremely interesting to see what kind of healing Mistweavers are going to go for. What kind of build is going to be the best for mythics. What kind of build is going to be the best for raids. The versatility of Mistweavers and the way they can change the type of healing that they do is really interesting. Whether that's going to be considered a niche, it's yet to be seen.